What is up, guys? How you doing? Good to see everybody. Get It Right Fitness here, coming to you live from Rochester, New York. I wanted to talk to you guys today about a little something that I've been enjoying for some time now. You've probably heard a lot about it, carb cycling, okay? That's become a very popular term in the fitness community. Now with dieting and new nutrition theories out there, a lot of people have had questions about carb cycling. What is it? How does it work? Does it work? Who can use it? Well, I'm going to use today as an opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about carb cycling, and you can see whether or not it's something that will fit your needs, your fitness goals, and it kind of breaks it down a little bit more simple because it seems somewhat unapproachable. Some people in the fitness industry make it seem more complex than it is. So we're going to go through what exactly it is and how you can do it. All right. So carb cycling with Get It Right Fitness. All right. Well, what is it? Carb cycling is a dietary approach in which you alternate carb intake on a daily, a weekly, or even a monthly basis. Most often, it's done on a daily basis. A lot of carb cycling setups have low carb days, moderate carb days, and high carb days. Okay? Myself, I do low days and high days. Now you can kind of play with what works for you. So what does that mean, a low day and a high day? Okay? Well, what it's doing is it's manipulating your body's glycogen levels. So that improves your athletic performance and it helps prevent muscle breakdown. What does that mean? Basically, what it means is it's maximizing the benefits that carbohydrates provide to your body. We've kind of seen over the past few years that carbs get a bad rap in dieting, in nutrition, in the fitness world. Carbs are bad. Carbs make you fat. That's not true. When you're eating carbs improperly, and as we go on in this video, you'll see why carbs have gotten that bad name. Well, who should do it? Okay, before we get into how exactly those high days and low days work, who should carb cycle? Who is it effective for? Well, if you're trying to lose fat, if you're trying to maintain your training or physical performance while dieting, or overcome maybe some weight loss plateaus, it's going to be a good approach for you. So that's pretty much everyone, even bodybuilders or weightlifters who are trying to bulk or put on size, put on mass. It's still very effective for them. From a health standpoint, it's very effective it's proven to be very effective for people with type 2 diabetes because what it's doing is it's by decreasing your carbohydrate intake and your insulin release in the body, it allows your body to burn through carb storage and use fat as fuel. So it's, when done properly, it's very effective for a lot who have type 2 diabetes. Something to keep in mind. Okay, so how does it work? All right, so we kind of figured out who can do it, almost everybody, what it is, and how it works is what we're going to talk about now. So what it does is it's taking the times that you have carbohydrate intake be providing the most maximum benefit and exclude them when they're not needed. So it's using carbs when you need them and not using them when you don't. Okay, so for instance, on training days, on days that you're training pretty heavily, you're probably going to want those carbohydrates to be high. It'll help with your energy levels, it'll help with that muscle breakdown. And then on days that you're not training, or maybe you're training smaller muscle groups, you keep your carbohydrates low or moderate. So for instance, when I train lower body, okay, those are the 3 largest muscle groups in the body. I have high carb days. So that's the beauty of this type of dieting, is you can space what days you train with the days that you eat high carbs. So it's kind of interesting that way, and it helps your workouts go to another level. It helps you keep that energy level pretty high. But for instance, on days when you're training arms or maybe even shoulders, try and keep your carbohydrate intake low. Often during prolonged diets, high carbohydrate days are used sporadically as refeed days. So that's a pretty effective way to do it. Let's talk about the macro aspect of it, or macronutrients. Okay, so your macros are your calories, your fat, your carbohydrates, and your protein. Okay, there's many different approaches, but very commonly protein intake on a daily basis, at least for myself, the way that I've been doing it, stays similar. Okay, on low carb days, your protein and your fat is a little bit higher. Okay, and then on high carb days, your protein dips a little bit, but it stays about the same. However, your fat intake should go down on high carb days. So let's break that down simply, because I know I just threw a lot at you. So high carb days, okay, low fat. Low carb days, higher fat. Now we don't want to go crazy with that fat, but we can go a little bit higher. Now, why is that? Well, when you're adding more calories in your daily intake from carbohydrates, they have to be taken away from something else, namely fat. Okay, the only way that carb cycling works consistently is if you keep yourself in a caloric deficit. Okay, now we're not saying starvation, we're not saying super low, but a few hundred calories for a lot of people in a deficit. By doing that, you can kind of manipulate the macros in your diet. Okay, because as long as you're in that caloric deficit, you're going to burn fat, you're going to lose fat. So, again, in review of what carb cycling is and how it can be done, we have high days, we have low days, okay, for carbs. Everything's based off of those carbohydrates. You want to pair those high days with more intense training days or more physical days, and you want to pair those low days with less intense or rest days, okay? How many of each per week? Well, that varies with different carb cycling approaches. Myself, the way that I've been doing it is each week I have 4 low days and 3 high days, okay? So on those 3 high days, my workouts are usually low body strength, high intensity interval training, chest and back supersetting, larger muscle groups, stuff that requires a lot of energy. And I've found that is very, very helpful on those days. And then, so those are high days. Okay, those are my 3 high days. And then those 4 low days, non-training days, smaller muscle groups. I'll give you an example. My macros, now again, these are mine. These are not yours, so don't walk away saying, oh, I can eat X amount of carbs or X amount of grams of fat. On my high days, I'm having about 350 carbohydrates, okay? My fat is staying low, around 50 grams a day. And my protein, I'm keeping up around 180, 190, okay? On my low days, my carbs go down to about 70 carbs a day. My fat increases to about 82, 84 grams. And again, my protein stays pretty consistent. Protein will raise too, though. It'll be about 200 grams on my low carb days. Now, you might be saying, well, 70 carbs or 80 carbs, that sounds like a lot. It's really not. The other day, I just had vegetables and a few different servings of carbs, and I was up around 60 carbs by 4 in the afternoon. So what we're going to talk about now is being a little bit more aware of what's in the food that you eat, okay? A few questions that I've gotten about nutrition, about food is, I don't understand. I'm eating healthy foods and I'm not losing any weight. I'm getting fatter, in fact. Well, why is that? A few people have asked me when I brought up carb cycling to them, can I just crush carbs all day long? Is that what it is? Can I just eat carbohydrates? Is Is that what the diet consists of? Well, no. The reason that this type of dieting works, or this type of nutrition works, is because it is strictly based on specific numbers, specific macros tailored to you personally, okay? So you can't just eat carbs willy-nilly, but you want to be calculated in your approach, okay? And we're going to address some of those carbs. So, carbs versus sugars, okay? Not to be confused. It's not the same thing. What do you mean? I thought carbs were sugar. Well, they're metabolized and broken down as sugar, but they're also broken down in a different way. Pure carbs, or more pure whole carbohydrates, are used as fuel. They're actually very essential to sustaining your body's energy levels and glycogen levels. Sugar is oftentimes just metabolized as fat because there's not a lot of nutritional value in many of the foods that are high in sugar. So, what do we mean by good carbohydrates, okay? Or carbohydrates that we want to base carb cycling off of. A few things that I like to have in the morning or incorporate in like smoothies, in baked goods, in anything like that. Oats. You can get the quick oats or the old-fashioned. The smaller the oat particle size, actually the higher it gets on the glycemic index. It's kind of a weird thing. But these are quick oats. These are a little smaller. So if you look at the nutrition on these are Wegmans quick oats. Total carbs per serving, 27 grams. Okay? Total sugars, 0. All right, so fairly high in carbs, low in sugar, 0 sugar. Okay? That's what we're talking about. Now, that doesn't mean I want you dumping brown sugar and maple syrup all over your oats. Okay? But you're going to find that you're going to appreciate carbs and crave sugar less. Okay, so oats, a good example. Another one, cream of wheat, grits, cream of rice. I love them in the morning. A lot of people don't. I don't know why. Maybe it's a texture thing, but these are pretty good. Again, 24 carbs, 1 sugar. All right, so you're keeping your sugar levels low, but your carbs high. Even pasta. Getting a whole grain pasta is oftentimes recommended. Same with the rice. This is just jasmine rice. But jasmine rice, even white rice or white pasta, high in carbs, 41 carbs in this pasta, 2 sugars. So again, these are what you want to be basing your diet off of, okay? What you want to be basing your carbs off of, okay? Those are just a few examples. You get it, okay? Not candy, not cake, not pie, not any of that artificial sugar stuff, okay? All that junk food is what you're picturing in your head. Next question, I've gotten this a lot. Can I eat fruit while I carb cycle? Yes, you can. I mean, fruit is nature's candy, right? However, you need to remember that fruit contains sugar, so you want to be moderate in that. Glucose is sugar, even though it's natural. Try to avoid fruits that are higher on the glycemic index. Well, what are some fruits that are pretty low or pretty moderate on the glycemic index? Apples are usually pretty good. Even the green ones are a little less, like Granny Smith. They're a little more tart, but lower in sugar. Grapefruits are great. Okay, they also have a lot of other additional health benefits too. Even blueberries. Okay, generally speaking, berries are pretty high on the glycemic index, but you can actually, these are good bang for your buck. You can get a lot of blueberries for fairly low sugar, okay? Some things that you may want to avoid that are especially high on the glycemic index. Dried fruits, okay? Raisins. In moderation, you can have some, but again, total carbs, 32. Total sugars, 29. Okay, so it's not really a good value sugar to carb ratio there, okay? Dates. Dates have become so popular at a lot of smoothie bars and put them in protein shakes and everything. They're healthy, they're fruit, it's good for you. Well, not in the quantity that oftentimes people use them. So don't be fooled just because something has dates in it and think that it's healthy. Again, 33 carbs, 30 sugars. Okay, so a lot of sugar. It's not to say that it's bad food. It's not to say that you can't ever eat it. I have it in my house. I have it, but you have to be aware of how much you're eating. Okay, you want to keep your sugars relatively low. On days that your carbs are low, you're going to want to eat healthier fats. Okay, now not too much, but you can increase your calories from fat on low carb days. Raw nuts, almonds, even cashews. Pretty high in protein for what you're getting, 6 grams of protein per serving, 14 grams of good, healthy, natural fat. Natural peanut butter is good too, just be aware of how much you're using. Serving size is 2 tablespoons and it's almost 200 calories, okay? So remember, be aware of how many calories you are eating on a daily basis. And again, just because this is higher in fat and good for low carb days, there are still carbohydrates in there. There's about 8 carbs per serving. So what you will find doing carb cycling is it'll make you more aware of serving size and portion control. And that's essentially the issue that most people have. It can be overwhelming at first. We talked about who can do carb cycling, and it's almost everybody. But it can be confusing, it can be overwhelming, it can be difficult to adhere to. So what are some recommendations that I might have? Because it is very effective and it's beneficial. Even though there haven't been a lot of proven studies on it yet, the results are undeniable. I've been doing it for years, but I just started carb cycling again a week ago, and I'm already down 3 pounds, okay? My strength has stayed the same, if not increased. My workouts are even more energized and better, and I'm down in body fat. So it is effective. So a few things that I would recommend for you to do. One, download a macro tracking app, like MyFitnessPal. I know there's a few others out there. Whatever is gonna be easy for you to use, download that. Most of them are free. You can pay for the upgraded versions. I use them, trainers use them, bodybuilders, fitness personalities, they use these apps. So don't think that they're above it or anyone's above it. That's the only real way to be successful, is to track what you're eating. I know it sounds overboard, but after some time, you're gonna start to realize food values, what's in each food that you're eating. And you can eyeball things a little bit better, but measure things, okay? For the first couple of weeks, it might be a little bit of a pain, but it will pay off, I promise you that. Also, this is my little plug right here. If you don't know how to personalize carb cycling to yourself, to your goals, and to your body, message me, okay? If you're interested in getting a carb cycling macronutrient plan or any other nutritional questions, message me on Instagram, Facebook. You can like me on Facebook, Get It Right Fitness, or you can now visit my website, www.getitrightrock.com. That's getitrightroc.com. And any nutritional advice, any workout tips that you might be looking for, by all means, reach out to me. You're never a bother. I hope this was helpful. And again, subscribe to my YouTube channel. There will be more fitness tips, workout tips, and suggestions. I hope you can use this, and I hope it helped explain carb cycling a little bit better for you. Have a good day.